Welcome to Mindful Escape, the podcast that helps you find your purpose and your passion. My name is Leighton Jewett and I'm your host, and today we have Adam Alexander on the show. This is a really fascinating episode because Adam runs a personal training business where he helps men lose weight. But he doesn't just do it from a fitness and diet perspective, he also looks at it from a lifestyle view. He works with behaviors which can quite easily be linked to behaviors of someone who want to change their life, whether that be through fitness, health, work, or mindfully escaping their current lifestyle. Adam's wife also escaped the corporate world to start her own business. And Adam talks about his experience of being a partner of someone who's going through that journey. So we really get to see a different perspective. This is a great episode, so listen closely and we'll jump straight in. Adam, thank you for coming on to Mindful Escape. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, thank you for having me. So I'm Adam Alexander, and I help men over 40s who have been struggling to lose weight, year on year. They've been in cycles of losing weight, and they've always lost the weight, but then they always end up putting the weight back on. So what I do is I then come in and I give them the tools so then they're able to lose the weight, but then also able to sustain it as well. So then it's all done on behavior change. And that's what it is. So that's what I do.
Amazing. And we were talking a bit before the podcast recording. So you've generally always worked for yourself. Tell us a bit about your experience coming out of school, the education system, and going into business. Was there any thought that you would maybe go and work for someone else, or did you always want to go solo?
Being completely honest, I actually fell into it. I actually fell into, like years and years ago, I was a personal trainer. I fell into that because I was at university and I actually failed it. I actually got, I failed it and I got asked to leave even before I'd really got started, So then at the time, one of my best friends, he was a personal trainer. I was like, oh, that looks fun. So I was like, when I got qualified, and really the rest is history. And then, I then went and, was personal training in the gym. But then I then got approached. I don't know if you know this, but I actually got approached by a drug and alcohol rehab to do personal training in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, this could be interesting. But it was great because it really opened my eyes to the behavior side of weight loss of people. Because if we look at it, because I always used to see the same people over and over again. Like they'll come in, they'll spend like 30 days there, and then they'll then go off because it was on a private island, like in the middle of Essex. It was really, really good, this rehab. And then we'll then see them again. And I was like, why is this? Why do they keep relapsing? And it's all to do with behavior. And then I was like, oh, hang on a minute. And then I put the two and two together of, well, why do people lose weight? They end up starting to lose weight. They lose weight, and then they then technically relapse, and then they end up back at square one. So I was like, I need to put the two together. And it's all to do with behavior change. So that's, I did that. And then I then ended up, I've been quite a few places. So originally I was in Essex, then I moved to Croydon. And then that's where I've met my wife. And she, like I was telling you before, she used to be employed. She used to be a broker. She used to work for the oil brokers up in London. But then she just wasn't happy there. Like she just wasn't happy. It was quite a stressful job, very busy. And she just wasn't happy. She didn't like the environment. It was affecting her mental health massively. She was on antidepressants. She was in a very, very, very low state. And like for me, for someone you love, it's very hard to see someone like that. The person that you love to see going through something like that. So, a lot of people at the time, they were like, well, she's on good money, like, suck it up. was like, well, no. And, Kels was like, I don't know what to do. So then I was like, well, we need to get you out of there, but what would you like to do? And she was like, well, I'd like to do personal training. So, okay, well, let's do it. And I remember at the time I was actually with my coach, because I've had coaches through the years, and me and Kerry weren't together in person at this precise time, but I was with my coach, and I text Kels. I was like, I'm taking you out of work, and I sent it. As soon as I sent it, like she read it, and she replied back. She said, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." So we got to get you. It's like taking you out of work. We've got to get you better. I sent it. She read it. She replied back, "Really?" And I was like, when I pressed send, I was like, "Shit, what have I done?" I was like, I can't go back now. I've said it. I've committed to it. I can't go back on my words. So yeah, so we took her out of work. That just was a bit of a toxic environment for us. So I was like, right, you can come here. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be rough, but we're gonna work through it. So
Yeah.
so that's that.
So good. And one of the things I love is that you're talking about your work and people falling into old habits or rituals or behaviors because of their psychological beliefs, I guess, and ways of living. And then you've got your partner who's in this work environment, but again, she's got to change a different set of behaviors, beliefs, and values to come out of that. Did you find there was quite a strong link there with what you've done in the past and changing her perspective on what she was doing and how to come out of that, or was it completely different?
The thing is that I can't help her because I'm her partner, right? I'm not her therapist. I'm not her friend. I'm her partner. I'm her husband. So I can't give her the support she needs. Of course, I'm going to support her. I can then, but I need to lead her. I need to give her the tools that she needs. So I was like, right, we need to get you proper counselling. We need to do the things you need to do, like exercise. Like she eats well anyway. She loves her exercise. And I was like, we need to get we need to do this correct way instead of just, taking a tablet and masking the symptoms. Because if you don't go to the cause of it and you just keep putting things on top, it's going to end up it's going to end up very messy later on down the line. So all I could be there for her was, in that relationship, was to lead her. And that's what it is. It's all about behavior and her to then learn who she is. And that's what she did, learn who she was, to then come out of it and, like thrive. And, now we've got 3 gorgeous children.
Amazing. What was the biggest challenge through that transition for you as a partnership?
It was hard. It was very, very hard. Like we're very much about masculine and feminine energy, okay? And seeing someone that you love like struggle, I then went into more of a carer mode, which is more of a femininity, more, the loving, the nurturing, and all of that, which is more of a feminine role. But there isn't, and if you then go into more of that, then they haven't got the masculinity to then lead. So that's what we struggled with. So even though like I was helping her there, my masculinity was going down, then my leadership and my decision making wasn't as sharp as it used to be. And then it then just got a bit turbulent, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got through it, we things, improved, and then she got back to work and we built up a great business together. And then we then decided to move to Cyprus, because we were like, right, we need to get out UK. It wasn't good for us at the time. So we're like, look, we just thought, well, let's just go. Let's just get out. Let's go somewhere. And we made a decision and we moved to Cyprus. but we still hadn't fixed our roles. So when we get to there, we wake up on a Monday morning, and it's like, well, now what? Well, now what do we do? Like, it's like, this is real now. It's not just a dream. Like, it's real now. What do we do? And just being there with no support, so we couldn't just go for friends, go to family for the support. It's, well, we need to do this ourselves. And it was turbulent, but over time we worked on it. We was a constant working on ourselves, because you have to. Like, it's never a finished product. Once you start doing work on yourself, as you discover stuff, and it's like, well, now what? There's more stuff to discover. Like, so it's like, oh, we're over here now. Oh, let's do some more. Oh, we're over here now. So it was a constant thing. But it was definitely the best decision, hardest decision, but the best decision that we've ever made.
Yeah. And it's really interesting hearing it from a partner, because very often on this podcast we're talking to the person who's going through that transition, and a lot of the time they're coming up against the same challenges and the same lessons. But from your perspective, you're already running a business, and then you've got to help your partner through that transition as well. Going through such a stressful period in your lives, in the relationship, and I imagine it would have had an impact on your business as well. Was there any tools or things that you implemented to help you through that period of time?
Yeah, had a coach. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we invest heavily into ourselves. So spent tens of thousands over the years on coaching. We're self-development. It's always about reading books, speaking about it. There's lots of there's loads of resources online as well that you can use. But it's also about just communicating with each other, and actually understanding. Well, it's like arguing. Okay, like, everyone argues, but normally it's when we argue, it's not about the socks. Now, what I mean is by that is that it's never about the socks. So if, like, Kerry comes at me because she's angry that I haven't put the socks in the washing basket and I've just put them on the end of the bed on the floor, it's not about the socks, right? It's about something completely else that happened before, but that is just the thing that blows her top. So then it's like, well, don't argue about that. Find out, well, what's really the matter? But that then comes through communication and the wanting to speak about it, and we're not arguing because we don't like each other. We're arguing because we love each other and we just want a better relationship and a better life. That's why people argue.
Yeah.
So they're my key things. Get a coach, work on yourself and communicate.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think so many people are reluctant to invest in themselves in that area. But I'm quite glad to see that it's becoming more common. More people are looking at whether it's a coach or a therapist or a counselor or whatever it is, someone to speak to, someone to open up to. And one of the interesting things I found is that you'll speak to friends and family about certain topics, but when you're working with a coach or a therapist, you'll open up about things that you wouldn't normally, and they'll ask you questions in a way that really challenges your thought process. And like you say, it makes you grow and learn in different ways that you might not have before. So that's really useful. And I love the communication part, because it's so simple to just react to the socks and not go deeper and just try and shut off that conversation. But by opening up with each other, and obviously you're understanding that she's going through a stressful time and you're going through a stressful time. So by supporting each other in that way and really listening to each other, I think is such an amazing piece of advice. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. But also, just to put, to go in there as well, it's all about nutrition as well, like nutrition, exercise, and all of that. Because just think about, I don't know if you drink alcohol, but how do people feel after a heavy night of drinking? They feel sluggish, they're slow, they're foggy, like they can't think straight. Okay. Now, if you get that as well through eating poor, nutritious food as well, and through not exercising. So just think of the compound effect as well over time that's going to be impacting on people. Even if like, I only have a glass a night, it's not a big deal. Yeah, but if we compound that over the years, well, yeah, it is a big deal. It does affect you. Okay, so we got that. Yeah, and also for me, like very, very recently, I was like, I need to do something for me, like for my own mental health. I go to the gym and it's great, and I go through the motions and all of that. But it's like I said to Kerry, like I want to do something that I suck at. I want to be rubbish at something. I want to start something new. Okay, and also it's like my eldest son, he's 5, and when we were living in Cyprus, he was doing kickboxing. He absolutely loved it. He was doing it for over a year. And then when we came back to the UK, he started it, but he just wasn't interested in it. And I was like, well, for me, I really would love my children to do a martial art because it's the whole philosophy of respect, of honor, of discipline, and all of the soft skills that you get from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, go do this, go do that, And he was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I was like, well, I'm not going to push him. So I was like, I want to do something for myself. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to lead him because through behavior, all of our behaviors are all learned from our parents and people that we spend time with. So I thought if I start doing it, then it's going to plant the seeds in his head that he's then potentially might be interested and want to do it himself. So 2 weeks ago, I went to start jiu-jitsu. And I'm being honest, I had no idea. I never even really looked at it. But one of the dads at school, like he does it, and it's pretty good. And we were just talking, and he was, oh, give this guy a call, and and get along. He's really good. You'll be all right with him. So I started it, and since then, he's been talking to me every night. It's like, oh, did you do jiu-jitsu today? Like, how'd it go? Like, what did you do? And all of that. And he's 5. So already he started, and he's like, yesterday, he's like, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu when I'm 6. So already it's like, I'm leading him.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah. I wanted to touch back on what you were talking about in terms of trying new things and also the looking after yourself, because it sounds like there isn't one method of getting through this stressful period, right? It's a whole holistic approach. And you mentioned nutrition, you mentioned exercise, you mentioned trying new things. What else could someone or should someone think about if they're going through like a stressful time or a transition? What other parts of their life do they need to think about to essentially get in order to help themselves along this journey?
Great question. Really, really good question. Now, my program that when men come and work with me, the program they come into is called the Back in Charge Blueprint. Okay, and that's basically what we do. We get men that are very successful in their work. They're making, but financially they're set. They're making good. They're making great money. The family's set. Like the wife doesn't work. They have a good life, but they're lacking in their health, right? And that's what it is. Like that's like the missing part. But because that's the missing part, it's frustrating. But then it's then having negative effects on other areas of their lives, and they're starting to see the cracks. So they come into the Back in Charge Blueprint, and this is what we do. We create a blueprint for them that they can then take away at the end of the 12 weeks. And we cover, like they come in and they think it's just about weight loss. Okay, they think they get in contact. Oh, I want to lose 15 kilos. I want to lose 20 kilos. Okay, cool. Start talking about it, and we actually start to see the other areas that it's actually impacting. So then what we then do is, okay, cool. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do this, 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 all throughout the day. We do it very, very slowly because it's not about giving people massive changes all at once because people get overwhelmed. So it's all about keeping them calm. That's the first thing, is that we've got to keep people calm. Like, we've got to get people achieving things, get them feeling that they're actually successful in this from day one. Okay. Now, it's so basically what we do is we look at nutrition. We're also looking at, exercise. So they're like the two key things. But then we then add in extra things. So we like look at for their mental well-being. So we put in some meditation, 10 minutes a day. Mindfulness. Just taking 10 minutes away from that. And also we implement, like, I call it a blackout. And what I mean by that is that we have a blackout in the morning. As soon as you wake up, that you do not go anywhere near your phone, your laptop, emails, TV, news, radio, nothing. It is a blackout. And this is for them. So at least then they can then feel calm and that they're in control. And that's what the key thing is about feeling in control. Because as we know, like being, like you were in, northwest London, wasn't it? Everything's so fast, and even I've noticed it being back in the UK, we're being hit from all over the place, from news, from people talking, negativity, driving, everything is just coming in at us. And we're just vibrating so quick, whereas like there's no peace. There's no peace. So if we can give people 30 minutes peace every morning, then that's a good place to start. So then we build on that. So then from there, we can build on some journaling. Like, oh, what have you actually accomplished? What's a win? What are you grateful for? We do that. We accomplish that. We put in journaling, we put in wins, we get in them doing something challenging, okay, like a cold shower. Might not sound that big, but it's massive. I don't know if you've ever had cold showers, Leighton, but have you ever tried it?
Yeah, so actually I went through a period of time. I had this Wim Hof app, and it builds you up, and you start off, I can't remember, I think it was 5 seconds to begin with, and it keeps going up until you're at 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And to be fair, I hated them. And the only reason I kept doing it was purely for mental resilience, because I knew that if I got through that first thing in the morning, then I could conquer anything that day.
Exactly. And that's why we put it in there, for the mental resilience. Doing uncomfortable things, even though it's easy just to not do it, but it's hard to do something that's uncomfortable. But if you could do something that's uncomfortable, then you can then do anything else. You can then take that into the office, and you can start to uncomfortable conversations become easier. And that's what it is. So we build a morning routine out for them. We have habits throughout the day, so they know what to do, like very achievable habits. And then we then have an evening routine as well to then wind them down. We wind them down in the evening to rest them, so then they can then have a good night's sleep. And then that then gets them ready for the morning, and the morning routine gets them ready for the day. They go through the day, they feel good. Okay, let's wind you down so you're feeling in control. And then in the morning, we get them ready again. So it's like a spiral effect. And that's basically what we do.
Yeah, that's so amazing, because I've come into this conversation with you with the thought in my mind, you help people over 40 lose weight, but all of a sudden it's completely changing their lifestyle, right? It's not just about losing weight. It's so much. And one of the things I really loved, that exercises that help them feel successful, because one of the challenges a lot of people have as they're going through a transition is a lack of confidence. And by doing these tasks that makes them feel successful and able to achieve things, that's going to build up their confidence and then enable them to push themselves further to achieve even more, right? So I really love that.
Exactly. Like, think about it. Like, most people, when they try to, like, lose weight, okay, they try to change everything all at once. So they try to do like 30, 40 changes on first thing on a Monday morning, which is the busiest day of the week, which is crazy, right? So they've got a list of 40 things, but then on that Monday morning, their alarm hasn't gone off. The kids have been sick in the night, so they're tired and groggy. They're walking down the stairs and they've then stepped in, dog poo or whatever on the stairs. It's like, the whole morning is not going well. Also, they've got an email that's just come in and it starts taking their attention away. And then they think, oh, I can't deal with that. Can't deal with that. It's too much. And then come the end of the week, they've probably managed to do 2 or 3 things off that list. And then they go, oh, I'm such a failure. Then they get the guilt, the shame, I can't do this. And then, they go into what I called, excuse my French, the effort phase. And they just go, oh, I'm bored. They can't be bored. And then they stay in this for a period of time until they get the moment of motivation to get started again. And then the same happens again. It's the same cycle, right? Whereas what we do is we go, all we're going to do is 2 changes in week 1, 2 changes. And they just look at me, they're like, sorry, like I've given you all of this money ads and we're just doing 2 changes. I'm like, mm-hmm. They want, I want more. I'm like, no, that's it. Okay. So they do it. Come Friday, how do you think they're going to be feeling once they've made these 2 changes, Leighton?
Yeah, so good. And one of the greatest things about what you just said is that it can be related to anything, right?
Exactly. And then come the end of the week, they're feeling confident because they've achieved it. They're feeling successful. And because their confidence has grown, they're like, oh, what's next? So then it's like they're hungry for it. Okay, cool. We do another 2 or 3 changes next week. Same feeling next week. They've accomplished it. Oh, cool. Let's go. So then instead of it being, oh, I'm not good enough, it's like, oh, I've done it. What's next? So it's just a complete behavior change. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And it's like you've put this in the context with what you do. And hopefully anyone who's listening, whether they want to lose weight or change their lifestyle or leave their job or whatever it is, start thinking about small changes. Don't change everything in one go.
No, like, okay, like some things like you have to do at one big go. For example, like when we move countries, it's 5.5 hours away on a plane. So it's not, we couldn't do that slowly.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, but change things slowly, but make decisions quickly, if that makes sense. So like we decided that we wanted to move abroad. So we went on holiday to Cyprus in October of 2018. And we decided that, okay, right, let's do it. We went on a 2-week holiday in October. Right, we're going to do it. So whilst we're on holiday, we put our house up for rent whilst we were there. And we moved to Cyprus in November. So 3 weeks later.
Wow.
We packed everything up because the people didn't understand it. They were like, you should be planning it. You should be thinking about it. You should take your time. But I was like, well, no, because if we take our time, we're going to be thinking of all the reasons why we shouldn't do it. Like, well, what about if the schools? Well, what about I don't know, like you run out of money. Well, what about if you get sick? Or what about if this happens, that happens? Well, what happens if your neighbour's cat gets diarrhea or something like that? Well, these are the things that the brain does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it talks you out of it. So when you come to make decisions quickly, but implement slowly.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'd like to do before we finish up is going all through your experience. What would be one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
What would be my piece of advice I give my younger self? Great question. Now, for that, it would be just make decisions, like go with your gut. Go with your gut because your gut knows, right? And The things that, like, life's very precious. Life is very, very precious. We're not here for a long time, and we don't get a pause or a reset button, unfortunately. So if you want to do something, then do it. Well, what's the worst that's going to happen? What would be the worst that happened if we went to Cyprus and it wasn't that good? Well, we could have come straight back. That was it. If you've got something that you want to do it, if it costs money, well, you're going to be making more money in the future. So don't worry about that. As long as no one's going to get injured from it, back on and do it.
Great advice. With trusting your gut, intuition, the feeling, have you always lived your life like that, or has that changed over time?
It's gone through periods of time. It's gone through periods. Like, I've always gone like that. But when you're not, like when I was saying about Kerry earlier, when she wasn't well, and I found that I was getting to a more of a carer role, I wasn't taking as much care of myself because all my attention and energy was going to her. So I found that I wasn't sleeping well, I wasn't eating well, I was drinking more alcohol because I was stressed, and that's having a negative effect. When I wasn't feeling myself, I wouldn't be able to make the strong decisions and go with my guts as easy as I would if I was as eating well, looking after myself and all of those things and feeling good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Because you start to question it, right? You're not being true to yourself, and it's all about the energies. It's all about the energy, like the masculine, the feminine energy. If I'm not looking after myself and being a strong leader of the family that I should be, then I'm not going to be able to make strong decisions. So that's, for me, that's why.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful answer. And I love the whole concept of just doing everything you can to take care of yourself, trust your gut, go with it, make decisions quickly. So many good messages. Adam, thanks so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
You're welcome, Leighton. Thank you.
Where can people find you online?
Yes, so people can find me on LinkedIn. I'm predominantly on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, and I am also on Instagram. So it's wherever it is, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Then my handle is Mr. Adam Alexander.
Brilliant.
Really simple. Thank you.
Thank you. And there we have it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found value in this episode, make sure you share it with a friend so they can find value in it too. The biggest takeaway for me was around building up that confidence. It's so easy when you're going through life to give yourself challenges that are too hard. We end up failing and we lose that confidence. Setting small goals, taking one step at a time, achievable targets builds up your self-belief. It makes you feel successful and it builds up your confidence. This enables you then to push the boundaries further, to experience more, to do more, become a better person, and gets you one step closer to achieving your goals. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back same time next week.